All keyed up, all jacked up, all ready to go. Welcome to the Gonzo Radio Sports Desk. I think I'm cutting the top of my head off again. I don't know why. I get all keyed up and I get all up in the microphone, and then all of a sudden it's like, hello, I have no forehead. The top of my head is flat. Hi, I'm Big Daddy Gonzo, and seated across from me, my partner in crime, the guy I blame half the reason that this show either is successful or horrible on. He is Da Mazz. How you doing?
What's up there, sir? How you feeling?
Welcome back after our 2-month hiatus.
Yes.
And it's a 2-month hiatus because I'm still recovering. By the way, for those of you who want to look up, it's called aortic dissection, and I'm not dead.
Clearly.
Yeah, but dude, you never ask doctors for details. Because I made that mistake of asking the cardiologist for details of my operation, and he's like, "Yeah, we had to kind of freeze your brain." I'm like,
"Yeah,
explains a lot." It explains a lot, but I'm dialed in. A beautiful thing called sports has helped me dial in and get that focus, get that concentration. And we have quite a lot going on. Since the 2 months that we did, which, by the way, we fired up a sports show right out of the gate because I really wanted to get right back to normal life.
Boom.
Kind of a mistake, but I wanted to do that. You know, sports is kind of half my life. There's been a couple of championships decided.
A few sports.
In the National Basketball Association.
Yes, the Lakers.
Right, but and you got lucky, LeBron. You got lucky that the Miami Heat wore down. They just did. They wore down. Goran Dragic got hurt, and they yes, let's face facts. They had the horses. They did. They had the horses. They had the big horses.
At no point in the playoffs did they not have the best clearly one on the floor, and two probably clearly as well on the floor as any team they faced.
And when they thought that they were just going to trot away to a coronation, Jimmy Butler stuck his foot in their ass, not once, but twice. And actually, you could say 3 times, but they kind of lost that game too. But congratulations, LA Lakers. Congratulations, LeBron, because I'm not a LeBron hater. I still have his Miami Heat jersey. I'm not a LeBron hater. Ain't gonna happen. No. But yeah, they pulled it off in the bubble. Something that the NFL is gonna learn the hard way about.
Perhaps looks like they may be going, or they're gonna need certainly come playoff time. Since there's been so many cases popping up,
they're gonna have problems. But also Major League Baseball, your specialty.
Yes.
How was that baseball season for you?
It went by in a flash, for all the people that wanted shorter seasons. Obviously, this was a little bit extreme with 60 games. Overall, obviously the Dodgers, I think coming into the year, were the best team on paper, the best pitching staff, best lineup, and I just think that they clearly showed that. Now, Tampa on the other side was, man, what a story. Tampa's payroll was, I think, about 1/10 of what the Dodgers was or is.
Yeah.
And that's their MO year after year. They develop talent. They have great coaching. They do all the fundamental stuff in baseball well, that teams do. They're big metrics players, but most of the teams are shifting in that direction now, which is good. But
it kind of cost them in Game 6, though.
Tampa just doesn't. It's just that they always seem to get the most out of their players, and beating. And listen, Yankees coming into this year, everybody was Yankees Dodgers,
right?
And if it wasn't just the Yankees, there were other teams that during the year looked like the White Sox started out on fire. Cleveland, all these teams.
They hired. Wait, who was it that the White Sox hired for a manager?
How far back were we going?
La Russa.
Oh yeah.
I was like, "Are you serious?"
I thought it was going to be a history reference. Yeah.
I mean, listen. Okay, I understand being a big Jack McKeon fan, not only from his days in San Diego as Trader Jack, which I thought he was a maniac, just slinging players all over the place.
And here too.
But then he comes out of retirement after not being in the game for 7 years, 8 years. Comes out of retirement at the age of 74 and just casually
pretty much adopts a team.
Adopts the kids.
Literally, probably.
Smoking cigars in the dugout. Like, hey, who's the old man smoking a cigar? That's the manager.
Yeah, Grandpa Jack. Yeah.
Well, and Grandpa Jack, you can't discount the old dudes when it comes to baseball.
Yeah.
Because baseball has historical wisdom. But I'm sorry, but La Russa is what's it been? 8 years, 9 years since he's been on the bench?
I'm so bad at predicting this gap of years in my life because everything seems to be just 3 years ago. I'm like, yeah, that happened 3 years ago. And my wife's like,
dude's 100.
That was like 7 years ago. And I'm like, what happened to the other 4?
Right?
It's like everything comes in 3 year,
but yeah,
increments.
Your White Sox, the White Sox, not your White Sox, but the White Sox. They hired Tony La Russa, who I believe he's literally 76 years old, 77 years old.
Not sure, but he's up there. He's got some experience.
Yeah, he's experienced.
Yeah, definitely.
Good for you.
Definitely.
They're a good young team. They have a good young pitching core, and they have pitching and power hitting. That's what they got.
Baseball, they're going to be fine. I mean, assuming everything comes back next year, they're going to obviously have some sort of I'm guessing, a shortened season of some kind, not going to be 60 games again, but they're taking a look at all that stuff now as to make the sport better, make it more appealing, make more urgency or create more urgency so that, you don't have these long drawn out seasons where coming as early as July, you got teams that are 25 and 30 games out and they're done. There's no contribution, for them in the sport. So, listen, hopefully they figure it out. They come back. Sports. Basketball just looks like they're close to an agreement. I think they're coming back December 22nd, we saw. And
Crazy.
With a 72-game season, looks like they're going to cut 10 games off their season.
Crazy.
Maybe the back-to-backs, I'm guessing. They'll, because the travel and stuff like that. So, sports is back, but we got another big sport to talk about today that we all love.
You didn't mention that the exasperating reason for all of this stuff, all these precautions, is because of the coronavirus.
Well, that's a given.
Because of COVID-19. Yeah, it's part of the zeitgeist.
It's not even being discussed. It's just there.
But I mean, before we segue to the other stuff, the NFL is learning a real hard lesson that they took a hard line back in July when they had a meeting with what was the guy's name? Smith and Troy Vincent, the player reps. Yeah, the head of the Players Association. Yeah. And they said no when it came to the idea of playing in a bubble or any sort of bubble situation. They said no. So Goodell, being a pretty balanced commissioner, even though the NFL commissioner has always been a puppet of the owners, he came up with a plan. He put a very, very thorough plan in place that now these 20-something millionaires have now gone and thumbed their nose at on a lot of different occasions. Okay, I told y'all when it started, I said these kids are millionaires, especially the guys that are in their second, third, and fourth year. Well, guess what? That means they're 22, 23, 24. How many smart 22, 23, and 24-year-olds do you know?
With a lot of money.
With a lot of money.
With a lot of
enabling
activities.
Who still hang with their boys.
Yeah, they've got opportunities.
Who still go to strip clubs.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, there are kids that in the NFL that are smart young men, and they're homebodies, and they've got a wife, but not everybody's Saquon Barkley. Okay.
Well, think about it too from this perspective. The everyday person's still getting COVID.
Yeah.
So just because you play football or any other sport, it doesn't mean you're exempt from catching COVID.
Right.
It just means that you perhaps are being a little bit more careful to not catch COVID.
Right.
But the ones with families, the ones without families, they're still interacting in society. They're still out there doing their thing.
Right.
So it may not even be any particular fault of their own as to why they may or may not catch, COVID. So,
no, we're seeing some straight ignorant crap.
Now, again, this is not to dismiss that sort of behavior.
Look
when
at the
you have
Raiders.
guys, listen.
Look at the Raiders.
They've made some mistakes.
Look at the Tennessee Titans.
and obviously they're paying for it too. But again, you're right. When you're saying that these are kids making kids' decisions, I mean, it's an overstatement, yes, but it's pretty accurate as well. Again, enabling, you got lots of money, you got lots of things to do. These kids work hard. And they want to go out.
Saying they don't work hard.
And they want to live their lives just like any other 24, 23-year-old kid would. So, granted, you can't change the circumstances that we're put into, just a little bit of your behavior. And I think overall, across the landscape, baseball got through it, basketball got through it, football's going to have some speed bumps, but they'll get through it too.
Speed bumps?
They'll get through it.
Speed bumps?
Yeah.
The Titans had 22 players and staffers.
But that's one meeting, potentially.
And it disrupted the entire
I get
NFL
it.
schedule.
I get it. But when you put it up against the fact of not playing at all, like we didn't do for 4 months, it's speed bumps.
And I don't want. And listen, I don't want the NFL to have to stop playing. I don't want them to have to play in a bubble.
Right.
I don't want them, but they're going to have to. There's too many moving parts. Think about the totality of this. Okay, an NBA team, staffers, peripheral people, office members. Not just the players.
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
All the employees of the organization.
Major League Baseball. How many people are on an MLB roster?
Active roster? 52.
52. MLB, not NFL, MLB.
26.
26.
And then sometimes, I think it was 28 this year because of COVID.
Right. Okay. 26 plus coaching staff.
A lot.
Training staff.
A lot.
Plus office staff.
Right.
Okay. All those people have to be accountable. Okay, so baseball did the smart thing and separated the office staff from the training, coaching, and player staff. Separated them. There's like 60 people in the office staff. Well, guess what? You don't go to games. You don't interact with anybody on the team. Period. Executive staff, no. Office and players separate. NBA, office and players separate.
It's smart.
NFL, I'm not going to wear a mask sometimes. I'm at a charity event. I'm not going to go around hugging little kids at a charity event without a mask on.
Yeah.
Okay? It's willful ignorance, and you really have to be careful. Okay? People are getting it because they got jobs and they got to go. Okay? Or they got to go to the grocery store. Okay? But if I'm an NFL player and I'm making anywhere from the low end $500,000 a year to $35 million a year, okay, that's it. I'm my house, and the kids are homeschooled. The wife, you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah,
Get somebody, one person who we can know as a contact trace person that we know that okay, we get our food from this person, we get all of our stuff from the outside world from this, because you know what, you're screwing with the TV contract. Okay, you're screwing with the TV contract.
Ultimately, I guess you can draw a parallel like that. But remember,
100%.
Listen, you have to, as an individual, create your own bubble. Whatever that bubble is, whatever size it is. I mean, obviously, the smaller it is, the easier it is to manage.
My bubble's pretty small.
But these NFL guys...
How big is your bubble?
It's not very big. It's increased now that we've gone back to work. But even, again, in an environment like that where you don't have any control over the variables in that environment... It's not a big environment, but it's enough to get you sick at this point.
Yeah.
So, again, it's not so much the size of your bubble that matters in terms of your chances of either getting it or not getting it. But in terms of controlling your bubble, having more access and more limitations within that structure that you've created for not just yourself, but it's your family, it's your job, it's all these other things. So, listen, I don't fault the guys for not living their lives. I fault guys for breaking protocol, whatever the protocol is, whatever it may be, your boss, okay, has set aside rules for you to have to perform in order for you to keep your job, essentially. We all live by these rules now. So if the argument is to say, okay, now what has the NFL implemented for these players, for these organizations, that allows them to be the most successful within their bubble, okay? And if that's not the case, then the onus has to be placed back on the NFL. That I'm not sure where that will be something that they'll be able to look back upon once the season is completed and say, okay, we should have maybe done this. We probably should have done this. But here's what I do know. Of all the organizations that I put the most faith in to get through something like COVID now is baseball's already made their changes, modifications, put a plan in place and has finished. Basketball has too. It's the NFL because they're the biggest boy on the block, and they have been doing it on pretty much every other level that some of these other organizations haven't done so well.
Yeah, and their organizations are huge.
Better than
team by
the rest.
Team.
So it's hard for me to believe that with all the same pieces in place that all of a sudden the NFL is not going to be prepared for having to go to plan B, plan C, plan D, whatever that progression has to be, if there is one, if the first one doesn't work, they're in a position to go ahead and just take the next step, whatever that next step is. But what I'm saying is that I'm hoping, and I'm more hoping, I guess, than anything else, is that the NFL is ready for anything. They're halfway through the season.
Well, I'm confident that Goodell has planned
Yeah.
A, B, C.
And yes,
I'm totally confident.
Tennessee missed a few weeks. Oakland right now is under the radar, and they're catching a lot of heat and getting fined for it as well.
Idiots.
We'll see what happens. Again, overall, we're halfway through, and I mentioned speed bump as my analogy. They're still playing. There's games today. And there's fans in stadiums. So,
which is crazy.
It's a progression. It's 2 steps forward. It's 1 step back. And you just don't want that step back to be where you can't get back up again and take that next step. And that's not happening right now in any of the sports, and it's not happening in the NFL.
Right. Well, the NFL roster has got expanded, I believe, to 58 players or 59 players. The practice squad is huge.
Well, you have to make changes, certainly.
Des Bryant got back in the league.
He's playing today.
Yeah,
He's cleared to play.
Antonio Brown got back in the league, actually.
Playing today.
Playing today.
Cleared to play.
Speaking of 2 mercurial, outspoken, loud wide receivers, those guys are on. There's quite a slate. Christian McCaffrey, by the way, if you're not looking over your shoulder, you see Christian McCaffrey has been declared active today.
In my lineup,
he will be splitting series with Mike
Davis. Yeah.
Who's played himself back to prominence. I don't think Carolina's going to let him get away. They're going to pay him.
Well,
they got to pay that boy. I mean,
you can't think Carolina's going to go far this year, but moving forward to take a little bit of the strain off McCaffrey.
Yeah.
He's had 7,000 carries.
Yeah, put 2 years and about $2 million a year on that in that guy's pocket. Because let me tell you what, Mike Davis has played himself to grown-ass man status. He was given the opportunity, and he did very well.
He took it, yeah.
Okay,
so
simple as that.
That's a pretty good one, too.
He's the perfect running back for that system because it's that old what was it? Not BYU. Where was it? Baylor. The Baylor offense that Rule ran. Okay, so it's plant your foot in the ground and get up the field.
Yeah.
Okay, and if a linebacker's in the hole, that's his problem. Okay, because how many times have we seen Mike Davis truck or stiff arm or shoulder off and bounce off of a linebacker and gain 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 more yards? So it's that kind of yak.
Yeah.
Yards after contact.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that.
It's a good situation for him. So, but I digress. So speaking of Des Bryant, look at it in the corner. Look over your left shoulder.
I got him right there. Glass
right
number
there.
2.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm
Back
happy
today.
for Des. I'm happy for Des. I am. I'm happy for Des because he was so great for so long in Dallas. Okay, and then the dumbass Jones family. Yeah, I'm going to say it. Dumbass Jones family.
It's cowboy bashing time.
God.
Here we go.
Sure.
Let's get on it.
Perfect segue.
Jump on it.
Perfect segue.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm ready.
What's wrong with the Cowboys?
The Jones family is like that rich father and son team that shows up to a fantasy football draft that you have in person, high stakes. Let's say it's a grand to get in. They show up to the fantasy football draft. Fantasy football draft, everybody else is wearing jerseys. Everybody else is wearing T-shirts of their favorite team, or maybe even they have a T-shirt designed for their fantasy football team. I've seen worse.
Yeah.
In baseball hats, everybody's having a good time.
Sports-related stuff. Okay?
These two douchebags show up in $2,000 suits with matching laptops, and they're immediate championship. And they, year after year after year, especially the last 15 years, they finish at the bottom or near the bottom of every fantasy football season, but then they open the next year talking the most smack, and they have little to no knowledge. They pick chalk off of the board.
Best player available. According to chalk. What? Yeah.
They have no real philosophy. Yeah. Okay? And let's remember how the Joneses got into this league back in 1990, 89. Was it 88, 89, 88? Okay, they bought the Dallas Cowboys, which was a great investment by them. Good job by you. Let me tell you what, stick to finance and construction and all the things that made Jerry a billionaire.
Oil.
A
lot of it.
Okay, yeehaw.
Yeah, woohoo.
Okay, Arkansas. Okay, but you can bet your ass Jimmy Johnson helped build that team. The Herschel Walker trade and Jimmy Johnson helped build that team, and the lack of a salary cap, which that Cowboys team was one of the glaring examples of why we have a salary cap in the NFL, because you can't just Yankee it every time. The Yankees buy all these great superstar players.
Spend.
Yeah. And they spent their way to, hey, God bless you, spent your way to 3 Super Bowls.
They were able to pay Aikman, Emmett, and Irvin, and the defense.
Yeah.
And just basically just write checks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they ended up...
Which is not an indictment on the Cowboys that time, because, again, if you can do something, you do it. It's not like they're breaking rules, so good for them 100 years ago. But let's talk about the Cowboys now.
You paid Charles Haley, you paid Deion Sanders, you paid all these superstars to come in and bolster that defense and make you a Super Bowl team. Yes, 100%.
You know what? That's what they've done over the last 20 years, and it's gotten them no place.
No, not with a salary cap, no.
But you know what?
They get away with that crap now.
But the thing is they're one of the teams that are always against the cap because they still spend.
Sure.
They don't have an issue with the spending part of it. The problem is the allocation of those funds and where they're going into which players.
Right.
They tend to overpay for players that aren't going to not only live up to their contracts, because that's the popular term now. Well, is a player going to live up to their contract? But these players don't even get to half their contract, and you start to question, wow, this guy's really overpaid. So that's been the Cowboys' issue. It's not been necessarily lack of spending or too much spending. It's been poor spending, and they haven't gone anywhere. And now, who are the Cowboys today? They still don't have a quarterback, okay, because technically Dak, even though he's on the roster, he doesn't have a contract next year. And outside of an aging offensive line, which has been the strength of that team for years, that's going to be a problem at some point now with free agency coming up. And also, and then you've got granted talented receivers like Amari, where am I at, Big Game Cooper, and a guy they drafted in the first round. Who are the Cowboys right now?
Oh, they're deep at they're deep at wide receiver.
Not an issue.
They're deep.
But again, with all these weapons, they've had all these weapons.
Right.
And they are regressing tremendously in terms of
you gotta
performance.
Have somebody to be able to throw the ball to them. You know what I mean, listen, if Dak Prescott were still healthy, then the Dallas Cowboys would be
viable.
3-4.
Viable, but
they would have won 1 or 2 more games.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, viable. But remember, he started out with 3 consecutive 400-yard games,
and they were all
So. I mean, it's not about numbers and stats. That team is a really bad football team right now. They're not just mediocre like they've been for the last 25 years,
they have
which is crazy to say.
Who the game has passed him by. He is. I'm sorry, but Mike Nolan is a master of the Tampa 2. Okay, now and they stay in the Tampa 2, the cover 2 defense, the whole damn game. But unfortunately for them, they don't have outside corners that can lock down and narrow the field. Yeah. So that's the deal with that. Narrow the field. Make it. With a Tampa 2, you have corners that basically cut off 2/3 of the field. So now you have 9 players that are playing in the middle of the field, your 2 safeties and your front 7, and you funnel everything into the middle of the field. Okay? But he doesn't have lockdown corners. Why? Because one of them plays for the Dolphins now, because Stephen Jones didn't want to pay prime money, and now he plays for the Dolphins. Byron Jones plays for the Dolphins.
Big benefit to the Dolphins.
Who is fantastic.
Yeah, that's a win right there.
He has been the difference maker in the quality of the Dolphin defense. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, well, back to the Cowboys in terms of coaching. Obviously, it's not working. Head coach either,
Yeah.
which really questions the relationship that Aaron had with him before that got kind of the where it
McCarthy's
went.
tired. He's
so,
done.
A lot of people at that point were knocking Rodgers and saying, again, prima donna and, West Coast guy, and he's laid back and he's moody still, though, and all these other things. And it was kind of like Team Rodgers when that kind of split. And now you're wondering, well, maybe it should have been Team Rodgers because there's clearly a lack of connection here between
because LaFleur came in
this coaching regime
and
the Cowboys.
Said, Aaron, here's the offense I like to run. And Aaron looked at the playbook and said, okay, I can do that. Okay, what do you want to change? Okay, he included a guy who is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
No question.
Who is one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL.
Well,
okay.
Hold on.
And he is one of the top 3 quarterbacks.
Listen,
Stop hating.
We still got room to bash Aaron Rodgers.
We'll get back to him.
Yeah.
We'll get back to him. We're busy beating up on the Cowboys.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that the buck stops with the front office of the Dallas Cowboys. The buck stops there. And they have been, the Jones family has been a hindrance rather than a help. I mean, how many quality, their drafting has been mediocre at best. And they have drafted some monster players. They drafted Zeke, monster player, huge. Okay, they drafted him. Those offensive linemen that they drafted in the first round, great. Frederick, all those guys. Okay, great. What have they done with it? What have they done with them?
There's
Jalen Smith.
Yeah.
Where have you gone with that?
There's a complete disconnect within the organization.
Right, they can't put the coaches with the players. No matter how good you are at drafting players, high quality players, if your coaches are crap. They stuck with Garrett 2 years too long. They missed out on their window on several really good coaches.
Yeah, that's
so
interesting too.
It's all the Jones family.
But you know what?
It's the 2 guys, the father and son in suits that show up to the fantasy football draft with matching laptops, and they finish 2-12 every year. Okay,
when you put yourself out there like Jones does. And the Monday after a loss, he's on his own radio show spewing all his stuff that he's been doing for years. You're entitled to get some of the criticism, or at least a good part of it, because
he's the new Al Davis.
Where else do you point, at this point? Now, again,
he's the new Al Davis.
Listen, the owners, I think, still respect Jerry Jones overall and understand what he's done for the league.
Because Jerry Jones has made them money.
Okay, and that's a big thing in today's society because that drives everything, is making money. But yes, Jerry Jones, if players can be past their prime, then I believe owners and such are also in that same line of criticism. It's not that he's going to go anywhere, but at some point you have to look in the mirror and say, you know what, I'm just going to run the shit and write the checks and let other people make the decisions. And football decisions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
But he was maybe trusting McCarthy was going to be able to do that. Older guys been in the league with some experience. It's not working, and it needs an overhaul. It needs to start from the top.
And he needs to find a personnel guy. That personnel guy needs the directive to fire the entire coaching staff and hire Lincoln Riley out of Oklahoma. Period. And build a team around that. Let him run the offense. Go get the best defensive coordinator you can. Okay, a coordinator that runs a modern defense.
Some college
Start
coach
over from scratch.
that is like top 10 in the FBS in terms of defense. Get some young, hungry coach.
What's the Clemson defensive coordinator doing?
Yeah.
What's the Georgia defensive coordinator
There's a lot
doing?
of coaches out there that are available, but you have to be able to. Again, Jerry's got to be able to put trust in his coaches.
He doesn't
Until it happens.
He's
it's
the
not gonna
modern day
change.
Al Davis.
So, okay. Well, the Cowboys are not going
The
anywhere
difference
soon.
is, okay,
Well, they'll
Al
be in the
Davis-
lottery. How about
right,
this? Okay.
okay.
What do the Cowboys do this year? In terms of being in the lottery, because there's a very good chance they win 2 football games this year.
Yeah, they're going to have a top 5 pick.
Okay. So are they going to re-sign Dak at that point? Are they going to franchise him another year and then go get a quarterback? Go sign a quarterback?
Okay, if they stay the course, it would be logical for them to re-sign Dak, especially if Dak fully recovers.
Re-sign him to what? A franchise tag?
I would give him
Because he's not signed. You can't re-sign him if he's not signed.
right. Well, yeah, you'd have to franchise him again if you want to keep him around.
Is he gonna
and
wanna-
then work out a 5-year deal?
Is he going to want to franchise again after what he just went
It'll be
through?
like $45 million.
He doesn't come back to the Cowboys
He's going to do a Kirk Cousins.
unless they offer him a long-term contract.
Listen, the dude was a 4th-round draft choice. He was a shock.
If you want-
he was a running quarterback when he came to camp.
I'm
okay,
going to sum this up for you. If you want a guy like Lincoln Riley to come into the Cowboys and start that team and turn that team completely inside out,
oh, then it's over.
it doesn't include Dak Prescott.
Yeah, Dak Prescott's done. Then.
He's not in the cards because Dak
No.
Prescott will not come back to the Cowboys
No.
unless
No.
they offer him a fair market contract.
5 years.
Whatever it is, 40 a year. Whatever it is, doesn't matter.
200.
He's not with 120 guaranteed. He's not going to
125. You just throw a few million.
He's not gonna rehab, go through what he's gonna go through, get to the point where he's able to play
Can I
again.
interrupt for a second?
And then play
Look
for
over
1
your
year.
shoulder.
And then play for 1 year.
DK Metcalf is a friggin' monster. Look at the size of him.
He's strong. He's a strong guy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
He makes T.O. look like he's anemic.
yeah.
Anyway, okay, go ahead.
Dak comes back only with a contract to play for the Cowboys. If your coaching thing happens,
Ain't having him.
then it's a wrap.
It's over.
Dak's a free agent,
It's over.
and he's going to get signed by Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
You don't think Jacksonville is going to torture one of those top 5 quarterbacks?
They're another team that doesn't scare anyone ever and usually gets in its own way. So it would make sense for them to.
That's another front office and coaching staff that needs to be completely flipped.
So, who knows what they're going to do with that pick, but they're certainly in the discussion as well.
I was about to warn you. Watch out, DK Metcalf looked like he was going to run out of the TV and hit you in the side of the head.
I'll take him on.
Oh my, he's a friggin' monster, man.
We've touched on Aaron. I banged on Aaron for.
Oh, you want to segue right to Aaron? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just going to back up here and watch.
No, because I banged on him
Now you're going to apologize.
before we went to break, and I banged on the Packers before we went to break, and at times this year, I mean, certainly not in the whole scope of things. His numbers are gaudy. I'm not going to deny that.
He's in the MVP race right now.
He's in the discussion, but I will say this about the Packers:
23 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 2 interceptions,
25-2. So.
And they were both in the Tampa Bay game, those interceptions.
There's 12 quarterbacks right now that have a passer rating of 95 or more, I think. So let's not get on numbers alone. Let's look at the Packers as a whole. They went into Minnesota a few weeks ago and got smacked. They got smacked.
Pummeled.
And, that was coming off the victory against San Francisco, which they looked so good. And everybody was like, wow, Aaron Rodgers, again, the numbers were just piling up and the team looked like they were unstoppable. But again, I like to look at the matchup, see why things happen instead of just looking at things happening. So San Francisco was a mess and has been a mess all year. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
They don't have any weapons on offense that are able-bodied and can play. No quarterback, controversy, all these other things. Clearly, San Francisco is not a very good football team. And they went in and they smacked them. Why? Because they're supposed to. Okay,
Right.
I don't give you kudos for doing the right thing most times. Okay. Now they go out the next week.
Watch out, it's DK Metcalf again. Look at the size of him. Jesus Christ, look at his back. Look at his back.
You're starting to worry me
Guy's a
about
monster.
this.
He's 245 pounds.
How is it that the following week Green Bay plays an inferior team like the Vikings and gets throttled?
Well, they got throttled on the ground.
Okay, so you can go in there essentially, which is what Minnesota did, and they said, okay, here's what we're going to do. They put a call out day before, okay, no meetings, just like maybe an email, text, all this other stuff. Hey, we're going to give Dalvin Cook the ball 46 times, and he's going to destroy you.
It was only 36, but who's counting?
And we're going to dominate you at, every possession. And that's pretty much what the Vikings did, and Green Bay had no answer. So, okay, my concern for the Packers, and it's been this way for years now, is that if you question the Packers, you don't question Aaron Rodgers' ability to make every play. You don't question the fact that now with obviously Devontae Adams back in the lineup and they're getting healthy, that they're not a good offensive football team. But they're soft. And if you can smack them in the mouth, which teams have done this year, okay, they look good when
Tampa Bay did bum rush
after Aaron's dance and his little fancy two-step in the end zone. Tampa's defense saw that and they said, "We're done with you." And
Ndamukong Suh,
they
my God.
not only beat him on defense, but what do they do? Ronald Jones ran the football,
ran wild,
and that's what teams will do now against Green Bay.
Smith brothers cannot defend the run.
It doesn't matter how good Aaron Rodgers' numbers are if he's not on the field as much as he should be, because your defense can't stop anyone. That's a problem, and that's a problem in December when your playoff time and the weather's changed and teams are more geared towards ball control, run the football, time of possession. Makes those sorts of teams go further in the playoffs.
Sure.
Aaron Rodgers, great quarterback. You're right. He's in the discussion. Vegas has him fourth best in terms of MVP this year. He's not winning the MVP.
Right. Well, Green Bay is the classic case of cut the head off the dragon and the dragon will die, period.
Yeah. But, numbers guy here, and I've said this before, these are true stats. Aaron Rodgers is a 500 quarterback on the road, okay, for the last 6-7 years. I mean, that's who he is. In the NFL, certainly this time of year or getting into the playoffs, you have to be able to win on the road. And when you start piling up all these, I don't want to call them deficiencies, but kind of crutches, things that you can lean on and go, okay, you know what? There's numbers to support this. Not good on the road, not a strong defensive unit. It's all these boxes are not in favor for Packers and Aaron Rodgers, as good as his numbers are, to get very far, to get to where they have to get to. So I'm surprised it's gone as well as it has in terms of their record. I mean, they've looked good at times, and I think they're 6-2, the Packers.
Yeah.
So
6-2.
Their road to the playoff is going to be pretty secure, and they're probably going to win their division as well. But the true test is going to be games. I think they've got Philly coming up on their schedule, and Philly's a physical football team, and they smack you in the mouth on both sides, offense and defensive line, and I'm going to be curious to see how Green Bay responds in that spot and how they move and the offense. And again, if they can't stop the run and they can't control some of the clock, then it's going to be a long day for Green Bay.
Hang.
Yeah. I mean, it's not going to be.
Sorry, I checked.
I think I just heard myself.
I checked in on the live. I'm sorry, my bad.
No, it's okay.
I'm a professional. I really am. Go ahead.
No, that's it. Listen, Green Bay is a contender. Aaron Rodgers, top 5 quarterback. But I'm not ready to anoint Aaron Rodgers, certainly the MVP, and or the Packers being a serious contender, even in.
You're not ready to apologize for being a big meanie?
No, because I tell it like it is.
Oh, okay.
Tell it like it is. So.
What? What do you want?
Florida boy. Florida boy. Welcome. So, hey, let me ask you something. You're running back. No, I'm just kidding. I'm talking about running back today.
The guru comes by.
Don't think I forgot, all right? Because I haven't forgotten what happened earlier today.
Oh, he's got them as salty about
I
that.
was like, you know what I was like? It was like, I'm in a school of fish, but I'm the biggest fish right down there right now, swimming around, looking around, going, feeling pretty good about myself. And this nice, shiny bait fish comes down right in front of me, and I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking, wow, this is too good to be true. This is too good to be true, and yet I take the bite anyway. And I got it right here, hook in the mouth.
Yeah.
Went for the bait.
Psychology is everything.
Oh boy,
So you've gone on the apology tour for Aaron
To
Rodgers,
some degree.
to some degree.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah. Dolphins
Well,
have a good game today.
I was
Talk
going to
about
say,
that.
why don't we segue to the Dolphins so I can talk a little bit of shit?
Go ahead.
While I'm still capable of talking a little bit of shit.
It's your floor
At
right now.
4-3. Did any of us Dolphin fans think that we would be anywhere near this level of success at this juncture? We ran into a crippled San Francisco team, at which time our defense also peaked at the right time. By the way, I believe that they are the number one scoring defense in the NFL, or points per game. They allow the fewest points per game in the NFL.
The Dolphins?
Yes, I believe so.
I don't know if they're
They're there.
All right.
They're okay. They're at least in the top 5.
Yeah, I think this team right here is on my shirt is maybe number 1 in points allowed. But
it's surprising to me if I could have predicted where we would be at the 7-game point. First of all, I would say that Ryan Fitzpatrick is still starting quarterback. I would. Yeah, I would be very surprised. Second of all, I would figure we'd be 2-5 and make progress, especially after taking a beating from New England and taking a beating from Buffalo. I'm totally surprised that we are 4-3.
does it really matter? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, in terms of the record at this point, though. I mean,
yes, progress-wise, culture-wise, yes, it definitely does, because you're at a point right now where you have gotten through, with the exception of games against Kansas City and who else? I think there's one other tough game.
the Dolphins have the easiest schedule coming home.
Other than playing Kansas City and
terms
maybe
of
Oakland,
record.
Oakland, Las Vegas.
Right.
Other than playing them, schedule's not that tough.
But
not
let me
even
ask
New
you.
England, not even Buffalo.
But let me ask you
schedule's not
a
that tough.
different way then. Okay, let's fast forward. Season's over. Dolphins are either 7-9 or 9-7. Is that next step any different for the Dolphins?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Well, let's
Because there's not much of a difference between 7-9 and 9-7. There's a few
Right.
draft picks, maybe 3 or 4 or
Right.
5 spots.
But the big one is Houston's draft choices, Houston's draft picks, which we got in trade for Laramie Tunsil. Suckers. Even though some people might consider Laramie Tunsil to be the best left tackle in the game, but Laramie Tunsil can't play 2 and 3 positions. Laramie Tunsil can't play defense. Laramie Tunsil can't play 2 positions on the offensive line. One excellent player is not worth 3 prospective excellent players. And that's what we got. We got 2 1s and a 2 for Laramie Tunsil.
That's a just monstrous trade.
We robbed you, Houston. Yeah. Sorry,
well,
we robbed you.
They have a history of bad trades.
Yeah. So. Well, their general manager was a little weak. But the point being is, let's address the elephant in the room, which was addressed this week, both by pundits on the NFL on the NFL Network, and pundits here locally. A source in the Miami Dolphins organization said that the Dolphins were auditioning Tua Tagovailoa, which I took the time to learn to say his last name. They were auditioning Tua Tagovailoa. That's the reason why they started him so early. And that because of the Houston pick, which is likely to be a top 5 pick, they would be likely to take another quarterback with that top 5 pick. To which Coach Brian Flores came out and said, that's not what we're about. I don't know who this source is in the organization. I'd like to know. You know, he was roaming the halls going, who talked shit?
Of course.
Who talked that shit?
Now, can I give 2 perspectives of this whole thing? Because
right. Well, hang on. But he said that we're in the business of developing players. We're in the business of developing players and a culture. And that Tua Tagovailoa is a pillar, a cornerstone of that development of the team and the culture. So go ahead.
I agree 100%. I mean, Florida.
I win.
Your coach is top 5 coach right now in the NFL, and will only get better. The Dolphins are very lucky to have him, and I'm assuming his staff as well, considering he got to pick his staff. So you have to assume that the Dolphins, in terms of at the top, are as secure as they've been in years.
He made wholesale changes.
Years.
He changed offensive and defensive coordinators.
Years. So that being said, their plan was including Tua. There's no question in my mind.
Sure.
Okay? There's no question. Otherwise, they wouldn't have spent the resources, the capital, the effort, the time, and the risk eventually coming off the injury, still again not knowing 100%, and all the negativity surrounding that. Tua has been their guy. And that's not going to change, okay? And it hasn't changed as of yet. But the Dolphins also realize that in today's NFL, when these quarterbacks are coming out ready to play,
Ready.
okay, not just guys that you have on the bench for 2 and 3 and 4 years, get behind the starter, develop. No,
Stop talking about Aaron Rodgers. Stop that.
Even the developmental guys are coming out and proving that they're ready to play. Okay?
Sure.
You got guys like Burrow this year. He's not a developmental guy, but he's not an overexperienced guy.
Herbert.
1 year for Burrow, technically he's a starter, and
Right.
he's coming out on one of the worst organizations in the league.
Yep.
And he's not just being effective.
Oh, yeah.
He's controlling games at times.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Now he's still going to make mistakes. He's still turning the football over, but everybody to this point has been wrong on Burrow.
I have him on a fantasy roster.
Okay, despite being the number 1 pick. So, a lot of pressure for Tua. Overall, this is something where Tua's never had. He's never been in this situation before. And what I mean by that is that playing for Alabama, always being the best player in high school, probably has been doned upon since he was 6. Okay, they knew Tua was going to be the guy, and everything around him supported that. Okay?
Never had a losing record.
So
At any
now
level.
he's in the NFL, where we clearly know the talent is much better and much faster and much smarter.
Bigger, stronger, faster.
He had 2 weeks to prepare for his first game. He's got 1 to prepare for this, and he's playing on the road and in Arizona, who's got a pretty good defense. Okay, this is
Not
right.
as good as the Rams. The Rams were brutal, bro.
Okay, this is Tua's first test. The Dolphins know that they have about an 8-week testing assignment for Tua, and he's on the clock essentially. He's on the 8-week clock, so they're going to closely monitor his progress, if there is some, his status, and make a decision come draft time. Because, like you said, they've got Houston's pick, and there are guys that will be available at that point. It may not be Trevor Lawrence because he's going to be a Jet, but
or a Cowboy.
or a Cowboy. You're right. So it's time to shine for Tua. Now, the eyeball test last week, for me personally, yes, they won the football game, but special teams had a big part in that game. They controlled that game.
Sure. Defense had a huge part in that game.
And at times, honestly, again, this is just a very small microcosm of Tua. A few passes to me, a few situations, he looks small. And when I say
True.
that, all the bodies around him look just so much bigger.
But it was that way in college as well.
And but there was a lot of comfortability in college. There was a lot of situations in college where, again, you're playing for the best program in the nation repeatedly for years. Your receivers are open. Your defenses are phenomenal. You got NFL guys all around you at a high level.
You had 5 first-round draft choices on that offense.
It's probably
5.
There's a reason why you look across the league at some of these other top quarterbacks, and they're not coming from schools like Alabama. They're coming from smaller schools, programs where these kids really have to work hard.
Trey Lance.
Russell Wilson, clearly. That's just it's unfair.
Well, Wisconsin isn't a small school.
But in terms of developing quarterbacks, you don't look at those sorts of schools typically. You're looking at the bigger programs, the Ohio States now,
right.
Alabama's, teams that are competitive every year. Those situations are clearly different than some of the quarterbacks that have to kind of fight through systems, coaching changes, instability. You don't have any instability at Alabama.
Their excellence has to show.
Yeah, every week is if you were to draw what stable was in a portrait, it's Alabama, it's Clemson, it's Ohio State, it's these other schools that don't have to worry necessarily about recruitment or about other things because every kid wants to go there. You're getting the best of the best always, week in, week out. Again, not knocking Tua for his situation. He doesn't dictate Alabama being as good as they are. He just flourished within that system.
Sure.
What I'm saying is that this week week 2 in the NFL, wake up time, better barometer as to kind of get a gauge for where he is talent-wise, and the Dolphins are doing it that way. So they're doing it right. Good for Tua. Listen, I like Tua. I was for the Dolphins taking him in the draft.
I was totally against it.
I know you were.
Totally against it.
And the reason why was because a lot of the NFL guys, ex-quarterbacks in particular, all said the same things about him.
Too small. Too brittle.
I mean, positively. Highly accurate.
Oh, that too.
Good leader. Strong presence in the pocket. All these other accolades that quarterbacks give quarterbacks when they think that they're going to be good.
Right.
But he looks small out there, and it's.
If you could have seen my face, and I actually was cognizant of my body language when his first time he dropped back to pass in that game against the Rams, he got the ball slapped out of his hands.
Yeah.
Okay. And it was
Aaron Donald, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was Michael Brockers.
Oh, Michael Brockers. Okay, yeah.
But the first thing I did was,
well, I mean,
son of a bitch.
You don't get measured on getting knocked down. You get measured on getting back up.
I mean,
and he got back up.
His numbers are he's supposedly 6 feet tall. Okay. Sure. And Drew Brees is 6 feet tall.
The guy he's going against today is not 6 feet tall either.
The guy he's going against today is 2 inches shorter than the water boy.
And that kid looks like he's figured it out.
He's a muscle hamster, dude.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Just, I don't get somebody like, oh, he's 5'8", he's 5'7". Yeah. And he can run a 4.3 40, and he can throw the ball a mile.
Yeah.
And he looks like he could bench press 400 pounds.
He's smart.
Twice. Yeah. Okay. And he's smart. And he's got, I don't care how short he is. Okay. One thing that we're starting to find out is that these quarterbacks don't have to look over top of those 6'6" linemen. No. They don't.
Because they're moving around. They're moving around.
Yeah.
And they're very active, and
that's
they're outside the pocket.
Well, that's my setup.
Yeah.
That's going to be the key for Tua Tagovailoa. It's going to be the key is that they're going to have to roll him out. They're going to have to get him in space and make him more comfortable, let him see more of the field.
But do the Dolphins have the personnel to run that style offense? No Gaskin today. That's going to hurt on that side of the football, running it, obviously.
Right.
Howard will be in there, but, I'm sure Howard usually has 1 or 2 games a year. We'll get 25 carries, and you'll be like, why isn't he starting? Because today it could be a game where I could see him go.
Could be his game.
Yeah, 25 carries, 112 yards, a touchdown. You're like, why did the Bears let him go?
He's like a 65-yard a game, 15 carries, 65 yards, bang, bang, bang. Maybe a touchdown because he's a good short yardage
and
guy.
that's what they've used him for.
But he's not.
But today you're like, why did the Bears cut him? But it's Juwan Howard. So.
Because he is an average running back. It's just average.
I agree.
He's average.
I agree.
And that's the reason why he got average money.
Okay, so back to Tua then. So with what he has available, especially let's say today, will they showcase that sort of offense for Tua? Are they going to get him so that he's outside the pocket and he's reading, like you said, lanes and certain things like that, throwing to certain spots, is getting him out of the pocket mobile?
And listen, in the pocket, you're going to see 2 different kinds of throws from him. You are going to see quick timing throws. They're not going to let him hang back there. Okay, you're going to see slants, and then you're going to see takeoffs. Okay, simple as that. You're going to see slants.
A lot of post.
It's going to be a lot of 4 seconds.
Yeah.
You got 4 seconds.
Probably less than that.
Okay, and less than that. Yeah. Okay, but you're going to see slants, or you're going to see go routes. Air it out or zip it. Okay, he's not going to wait for a play to develop. He's not going to wait for his second read. He's not going to wait for 2 or 3 progressions. It's going to be planned. First progression, slant, or if he's in the shotgun or the pistol, it's going to be quick wide receiver screen, shit like that.
Yeah.
Okay, simple as that. They're going to get the kid some high percentage throws, let him make some high percentage throws, because they don't have, like you said, the offensive line is much improved over last year, but mediocre is much improved over last year.
Oh, that's an understatement.
Okay, you got 2 rookies.
Yeah.
You got a rookie reserve.
Yeah.
You got Jesse Davis playing left tackle now, which, by the way, he had a very good game last week. by the way.
All right,
Seriously.
These are all baby steps that the
it's all baby
Dolphins
steps, exactly.
have to take, and they've taken successfully to this point. So Tua is going to have to he's going to have to be part of that. He's going to have to progress. I mean, obviously, it's week 2 for him.
There's not going to be 94 yards passing this week.
They're going to have to
be much more than that.
Okay, let's fast forward then to the end of the season. Dolphins end up either 7-9 or 9-7. To me, it's totally irrelevant. 9-7,
18th pick in the first round.
In terms of how to assess the team, I'm not even talking about what that will represent. Obviously, you'll be in a position for the draft. You may or may not get a bye or make the playoffs at, let's say, 9-7. But let's assume they don't make the playoffs. Let's assume they go 8-8. Okay, Tua's numbers are respectable. Again, don't want to throw touchdowns to interceptions, but it looks like that he could be the future of the Dolphins. They're not like, we got it right. That's not what they're saying.
Right.
They're saying, wow, there was some progress there. Man, he took some lumps too. Okay, they get to that point now, and it's draft time, and they're sitting at 4, okay, because they got Houston's pick. What are they doing?
All right. So, of course, these are all conditional as to what the 3 teams in front of them do.
Assuming there's a quarterback available. Let's assume it's not Lawrence, but it's the second best guy on the board.
So you don't think that, okay.
Because they have no problem taking that guy.
We're looking at the Jets, the Cowboys, and who at 3?
Jacksonville.
Giants?
Maybe. I think the Giants are going to win some games.
You think the Giants are going to win a couple more games?
I think Giants are good for 4 or 5 wins. So I don't.
Really?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Judge has got them playing hard. I'll say that.
It's tough to run on the Giants.
Right.
The Giants can stop the run.
Judge has got them playing hard.
Yeah.
So let's just say that 2 quarterbacks go in front of them, and they are the 4th pick. Okay, if you get to the 4th pick, there's a left tackle out of Oregon named Penny Sewai, who is supposed to be the next big thing at left tackle. Okay, he has all the metrics: 6'4", 315, 8% body fat, absolute Samoan freak. Okay, he opted out this year because of coronavirus. Okay. He didn't see the reason to play. Because the Pac-10 was going to go with a limited schedule anyway.
Right.
Okay, you go get that guy, because then you can take Austin Jackson, who was their first pick and their second pick in the first round at 18. You take Austin Jackson, you shift him to right tackle. Now you have a pair of bookend tackles, or you shift Sawai to the right tackle because you have a left-handed quarterback. Now you have bookend tackles.
I get all that,
which is a big check mark. For
any organization, any organization, yes, I get that.
For a championship franchise,
but
big
in today's NFL,
okay, you get that guy.
In today's NFL, no matter what you think of any other position that's out there,
bookend tackles,
any other position, skilled or not, if you feel like your quarterback is out there and you have the chance to take him, you are not going to pass him for a left tackle. It's not in today's NFL, and it's not in anybody's vision to do that at this point. You cannot win in this league unless you have a quarterback. And it can't just be a quarterback. He's got to be the quarterback. In your division,
the only guy worth it is Trevor Lawrence. The only guy worth that speculation, if you get to number 4 and the 3 teams in front of you have a brain aneurysm of the type that, of course, they're not 3 great organizations, and Trevor Lawrence happens to be available at number 4. I mean, you have to think about it.
Yeah, but he won't be.
He is the only of the 4 projected first-round quarterbacks. He is the only one who's worth the pick.
All right, well, I will say this, 2 things about that. One, the Dolphins clearly don't have an issue with not taking the projected number 1 quarterback to come out of the draft, because they passed 3 of them to take Tua. So in terms of all the quarterbacks that were taken in this past year's draft, again, with Tua's speculation, with the injury, and again, you weren't taking him over Burrow. No. You weren't taking him over the other guys as well. So the Dolphins don't have a problem with eyeing somebody in the draft, no matter who that player is, and going, I want that guy.
Right.
And then going out and getting that guy. So they're probably, and I do believe, will do that that show where we look at the draft, the quarterbacks, because that's always the hottest topics, who's coming out, where we think they should come out. But it would not surprise me to see the Dolphins in that situation at 4, assuming Lawrence is taken, to take who they feel is the next best quarterback. If Tua finishes this year, like I said, at mediocre, at baby steps, okay, check, big lumps, check, a total evaluation come year end and go, you know what? The eyeball test tells me certain things that don't allow me to project to 5 years, 10 years down the road for this organization. And at that point, I think, like any team would do in today's NFL, realize how important the quarterback position is and go out and get their quarterback. Because if you don't have your quarterback, you're not going to win. You got Allen at the Bills, who's clearly a better quarterback than whatever the Dolphins have right now. Jets, assuming they get Trevor Lawrence, obviously they've got a leg up at that as well in terms of the quarterback position. Dolphins got to get it right. They haven't had it right for years at that position, and it's the focus for that team.
Here's the scenario, okay? Here's the scenario. Anything below completing all the games, making all of his starts, and having a baseline performance of okay, 75 passer rating. You have some good games, you have some bad games. You're a rookie. You're a rookie with no preseason, okay? You don't get hurt. You maybe get nicked and you still play, and you still play well, okay? But if we have another situation like he had in Alabama, where he gets another high ankle sprain, and he has to have surgery for his high ankle sprain.
No, he can't get derailed in that way at all.
Yeah,
injury-wise, if that happens, it's a wrap.
That casts a pall.
They're not going to wait one more year to assess him. No. And
they won't.
I will tell you this.
I'll say that too.
At the end of that line of progress that you drew and said that there was a little bit of progress, if he doesn't have 4 or 5 Justin Herbert throws in that stretch in certain spots in certain games.
Yeah, he's got to show up.
And he doesn't have one Joe Burrow comeback in him in a certain game.
Yeah, he's got to show up.
Then it's not going to bode well for Tua and the Dolphins moving forward. And they'll see that. They'll know that. And that's why I'm saying when they get it in that position and they're at 4, they've already eyed their quarterback. They know who they're taking.
I mean, listen.
And it will not be Tua time in Miami.
In his first start, he had, I would have to say it's mixed reviews, because he had 2 or 3 throws that were amazing. They were amazing. His touchdown to Devontae Parker.
Fantastic play.
There's no way that Ryan Fitzpatrick could have thrown that. Release, speed, velocity, accuracy. The only place Devontae Parker caught that touchdown pass with the DB draped over his back.
I saw it.
The ball was literally 4 inches above his junk.
It had
and that was the only place that he could have caught it exclusively.
And he did.
Okay. Ryan Fitzpatrick doesn't have that throw in him.
I think your Hot Pockets.
Yeah, I guess so, right? No, my coffee's done. Okay.
I don't know. It's so funny. Hot Pockets.
He also made some. Where the hell did you were you throwing that ball?
Yeah.
Okay. You had a couple of instances where, like case in point, Mike Gesicki was wide open. Okay. And I don't know what the problem was. Maybe somebody hit his hand or what when he threw the ball. But when he threw the ball, Gesicki, who was standing, nobody was within 5 yards of him, standing alone in the middle of the field, and the ball fluttered and landed at his feet. Okay. Where did that come from? Did somebody stick a hand up and hit his arm when he threw it or whatever? I mean, I don't know what the circumstance, but he had a couple of mystery throws. It was just like,
my favorite ice cream.
The hell?
Rocky Road.
So,
I mean, all quarterbacks. I mean, Tom Brady makes bad throws too.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the overall assessment on looking really, really good in spots. So where you look at that player and you're like, wow.
Well, yeah, but listen,
Coaches on the other side are going to really have to pay attention to this kid. They're going to really have to game plan for this, game plan for that. He's going to have to pose many threats on many facets of the game. You're right in terms of moving him out of the pocket. He's going to have to showcase his legs at some point too.
Oh, yeah.
Even though they don't want him to be Josh Allen, running the football 12 to 14 times a game. Hopefully they won't have many design bootlegs.
He needs to eat a sandwich, I'll say that.
Because,
he needs to gain some friggin' weight.
Yeah,
I don't care how lean he is.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I mean,
you're Samoan, for crying out loud.
Get
gain
out of bounds.
Weight.
Yeah, get out of bounds,
gain
please.
Some weight.
So.
I mean, you look in the WWE, Jimmy and Jay Uso are supposedly skinny Samoans. And those guys are, 6'3", 250 pounds.
Yeah, I don't think skinny and Samoan go in the same sentence.
Right?
Yeah.
It shouldn't.
Typically, yeah.
It shouldn't.
Yeah.
So,
Did anybody see Moana?
Feed the boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, feed the boy.
Yeah.
He needs to get himself a hot Cuban girlfriend with a grandmother that likes to cook, and he needs to get him some arroz con pollo and some ropa vieja and some masas de puerco. You need to pack some meat on them bones. Okay, you need to get like your boy Kyler Murray. Hit Kyler Murray up and ask him, who's your trainer? What's your supplements? Okay, you need to get bigger, son. Simple as that. You need to gain some weight. Listen, I'm losing weight. I would give you 25 pounds in a heartbeat. Okay, and that's really more of a pun than I really wanted it to be, but no pun intended. But yeah, he needs to gain some weight.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that last week in his first start, they went into the game with the mindset of being conservative, not putting the onus on the kid. They did. And when they got up by 14, they doubled down with the conservativeness. I mean, Myles Gaskins had, 22 carries?
The most he's had all year.
Most he's had all year, 23 carries.
And now he's not playing, he's hurt.
And now he's dead.
Yeah.
Because I'm sorry, but the offensive line is still just mediocre.
Yeah.
2 rookies, a guy who is a reclamation project and a utility guy who can play 3 positions on the line. I love Jesse Davis, by the way. Jesse Davis can play both tackle spots. He can play and both tackles and both guard spots.
Yeah.
He does everything but play center.
Invaluable on the offensive line.
Pay that man.
Yeah.
Never let him go because he is just good at whatever position you put him at.
Yeah.
He played left tackle last week, okay? And other than that first drop back, Michael Brockers was silent, quiet. And when they stunted Aaron Donald over on his way, Jesse's got some big long arms, and he stuck Aaron Donald. He stuck Aaron Donald a couple of times. So it wasn't Jesse Davis. Jesse Davis can stay at left tackle as far as I'm concerned.
He's a baller. He's a baller.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we're running out of gas. And
MVP talk. We got
MVP
just quick.
talk.
It won't take long.
Oh, okay. MVP talk.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty easy. Well, it's Russell Wilson. I mean, how is it not right now?
I know what to get you for your birthday or for Christmas. You need to get you a Seattle Seahawks number 3. You are just such a fanboy for that guy.
How are you not? I mean,
yeah, I know. I saw. First of all, I've seen way too much of the Seattle Seahawks this year, especially with the Dolphins ended up playing them.
Yeah.
And I can say this: that game was a game where I saw the marked improvement in the Miami Dolphins defense. And they still lost.
Yeah,
they still lost because they would have a series where they would get the Seahawks off the field, 3 downs and out, 3 or 4 plays out. Okay, batted pass, managed to sack Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
Okay, Wilson missed a throw, whatever. Okay, but Seahawks would come back the next time and they would find the hole. They would find, we're going to run Lockett in a 5-yard underneath route.
Yeah, that's
and
all.
Let him, get some yak.
That's all Russell Wilson.
I mean, it's all Russell Wilson.
And
exactly.
that defense, that Seattle defense, is terrible.
Terrible.
So,
horrible.
I mean,
that's why the Dolphins were in the game up until the late third, fourth quarter. They were. I mean, that game was only that game was only what 10 points. At one point, it was 3 points.
So and they've had issues with injuries too. Certainly with Carson being out for a while.
Yeah.
And I think Lockett missed a few games.
Carson's still out, actually.
Yeah, well, Carson's still out.
Carson and Hyde.
That's a team that doesn't have – if you look at their efficiency ratings, like on offense and defense, their offensive line, middle of the pack. Their defense, bottom of the pack on both sides.
Snake bit at running back for like the last 4 or 5 years.
And again, every team deals with injuries, so I'm not going to say they are this because of this or whatever the case because of injuries or not. But what he does or what he doesn't do, first of all, there's nothing he can't do. Makes every play, makes every read, has seen every defense. I think they've won 12 straight road games? Am I overstating that?
Yeah, like I said, I saw the Miami Dolphins defense play against him well.
What happened to this whole travel thing about East Coast, West Coast, and the difficulties of that, and going to Seattle and of course
he don't care.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So, and again, I've never been really a big fan of their coach, of Pete, but.
Pete Carroll.
I'm just calling him Pete.
I call him the choke guy.
I'm just calling him Pete.
Remember when he was with the Jets and he did the choke thing against the Dolphins? Just screw you, Pete Carroll.
Listen, Pete should have another Lombardi trophy.
Yeah, he's going to. I think he's going to get one.
He should have had one with that
shot this year,
brain dead play call back in the Super Bowl. Anyway, good for you, Pete. So this is clearly Russell's team. All right, their defense is terrible. Their offense is average. He makes them spectacular. And they've proven they can win on the road. Clearly, he's number one. Patrick is number two in terms of Vegas, in terms of the MVP selection. That team, that system, that structure, they're certainly a better balanced team overall, I think, than Seattle. I think they're a better football team. But clearly, he deserves to be number two. And number three, who cares? Oh, wait, that's Brady. Oh, he's relevant still.
Yes, and also probably a comeback player of the year.
That is going to be tough to argue because that clearly seems to be where they're headed. That team looks really good right now. They could be the best team in the NFC.
What about the Mighty Mouse that the Dolphins are playing today, Kyler Murray?
He's up on the list. I think he's fifth on the list. But your favorite and my favorite quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, he's fourth on the list in terms of MVP. Now, this is basically a two-horse race. This is Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes. Nobody else should really be in the discussion, but you have to have other players on the list. Otherwise, those odds wouldn't be what they were. That's how Vegas works.
If Russell Wilson had Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell as his running backs, I do believe Seattle would be undefeated. They would be undefeated.
Yeah.
Okay, because Seattle has been so snake bit at running back. Okay.
I'm a Carson guy. I really like him.
Chris Carson can't stay on the field.
Yeah, it's injuries. But overall, again, back to the two-horse race, I don't see it changing unless there's an injury or there's other factors.
Listen, Seattle's leaning on former University of Miami running backs now.
Yeah,
they got DJ Dallas in there now. They're about to call Willis McGahee out of retirement.
Who I started today, by the way, in DFS. Just a little.
DJ Dallas?
Oh yeah.
Okay, well, since we've broached DFS and we're already through the looking glass, what are some other sneaky daily fantasy players you like today?
My favorite player of the day, and again, price has a lot to do with this on DK, is DJ Chark. He is below 6K, which he's never been.
DJ Chark.
I think that game gets a little bit batty today because Houston's secondary is terrible too. Jacksonville's secondary is terrible.
But they're starting Luton? They're starting. They're starting a kid from Appalachian State once again.
I like DJ Chark today. To go crazy.
Good value.
Yeah, it's just extreme value.
Okay.
Again, and with his price being as cheap as he is, I just don't. He doesn't have to go crazy for you to hit his value. He gives you 5 catches for 80 yards, then he's pretty much smacked it. He gets you a touchdown, and that's kind of where you want to be.
The importance of depth at quarterback has been never been more prevalent. Now, look over your shoulder. Oh no, they were just showing who's Russell Wilson and Allen. Oh my God, Allen's 6'7".
Oh, he's a monster.
Wilson's 5'8".
Yeah, no, he's like 5'10",
like a gorilla.
5'11".
But never have we seen the prevalence of having starting quarterback or quarterback depth in the NFL than we have today, because now the Cowboys are wheeling out their 4th string quarterback. The Jaguars are wheeling out their 3rd or 4th string quarterback. it's extraordinary.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary. I mean, Sam Darnold is dragging his carcass out onto the field because Darnold, and I feel so bad for Darnold.
I do too. I like him.
Adam Gase is becoming a career killer and a team killer. And
Let the Steelers go get him right now.
What Darnold?
Hell yeah.
As a backup?
Hell yeah.
Hell
yeah. I'd take him right now. I would get him. I would
mind that.
I would give up a second-round pick for him right now.
But there are quarterbacks that are dragging their carcasses out on the field. And they're hurt. They're dying. They're hurt. They're just absolutely beat to crap. And they're dragging themselves out there. Look at Jimmy G. Jimmy G dragged himself out onto the field, okay, because the quality depth at the quarterback position has never been more important in the NFL right now.
Listen, there's a guy right behind you waiting to step in, and it's pretty evident with some of these guys that you thought were so good or their jobs were so secure. And now you've got guys that are coming in ready to play, and your backups are ready to play. And it's almost like, not to belittle the quarterback position as a whole, it's not a next man up mentality, not like you can lay at the offensive line, defensive line. You still got to be elite at the position. And there only are just a few who are elite at the position. But you can win in the NFL with a pretty good quarterback, at least week to week, and still
just pretty good.
And still show some sort of semblance in terms of being a good football team.
I mean, you look at the Indianapolis Colts, man. The Indianapolis Colts kept Jacoby Brissett.
Man, if they had a quarterback, though, that team would be scary.
And they're like, why did they keep Jacoby Brissett? Well, because they've got 74-year-old Rivers on their team. I mean, really, seriously,
that's a good football team too.
It's a good football team, but Rivers is 100.
And again, illustrates my point even more. They haven't gotten the quarterback spot right since Luck went down, unfortunately. Right. So imagine if they had a healthy Andrew Luck. All right. Imagine how
that's another team that would be 7-1 right now.
You wouldn't be looking at the Bills as being the best team in that division.
No.
Which to me is only that way again because of the other three teams. Yeah. So I mean the Bills are a good football team, but they're not a great football team.
You're talking about the AFC North though. You're not talking about the AFC, not the AFC East, the AFC North.
No, I'm talking about the Bills. And I'm talking about, my reference was that if he was available to play, I mean it'd be a whole different story.
Well,
you're right.
But the point being is that it's never been more. I mean, look, Josh McCown just got on the practice squad of some team. Josh McCown is like 70 years old, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to start pulling the. They're going to start. Vinny Testaverde is getting ready. He's working out. He's waiting for a tryout.
I've seen him at Publix.
He's waiting for a physical.
Not wearing a mask.
Vinny Testaverde?
Not wearing a mask.
Well, he's immune to everything.
That's fine.
He's immune to everything. Vinny is superhuman.
Yeah, no, I've never seen.
Well, I think we've run out of gas.
Yeah.
I mean, unless we want to get into different sports, but we really don't. And I also have to go put my DFS lineups in, so I got to go.
Okay, fair enough.
All right. Well, say goodbye to the nice people.
Goodbye, nice people. Thanks for watching.
And you can check out the Mazz on Twitter. Is it MLB Joy Us?
Instagram,
MLB Joy Us. And of course, just search Gonzo Radio on pick a platform, any platform, and you'll find us, the Gonzo Radio Sports Desk. Thank you very, very much for tuning in. Say goodbye to the nice people.
Goodbye, nice people.
And we will catch you. We're going to start working up a regular schedule, so eventually we'll get back to doing every Sunday at 11 o'clock pretty soon, maybe as soon as next week. So thanks once again for watching, and I'm going to go ahead and boldly say we'll see you next week here on the Gonzo Radio Network. Bye.